It is 2024 and Toyota is coming hard with all their off-road offerings. There's actually 4 vehicles that most people who are in the know are going to be cross-shopping. This being one of them. This is the 24 Land Cruiser. It's the first year they brought it back, and this is specifically the Land Cruiser. The trim is actually called Land Cruiser, and we'll talk about that later in the video. But the other vehicles are the Toyota Tacoma, which is already out. That is the new 4th gen platform. There is the upcoming 4Runner, which is also built on this chassis, and a twist, the Lexus GX 550, which is also built on this chassis. So those are the 4 main vehicles that are not only very similar for lots of different reasons, but also in price. I mean, we're talking like 5 to 10 grand differences between all 4 of these vehicles, depending on the trim you choose and options. So if you're one of those buyers who's trying to figure out which way to go, this is gonna be a valuable video for you. So we're gonna talk through exactly what this particular car has, what it is, what it's not. We're gonna walk through the features. I'm gonna do a little test drive and give you guys my impressions. And at the end, hopefully we can talk a little bit more about directionally what makes the most sense for the price point. All that being said, let's get to it. So here we are in the Land Cruiser's interior, and just off the cuff, I love the fact that everywhere I rest my arms, you have like a soft touch or leather type material, and it just feels comfortable from like the second you sit in it. Now what's interesting about this is it really does remind me a little bit of a Wrangler, because this dash is really pushed up against the A-pillar, and the rake of the front windshield is all reminiscent of a Wrangler to me. But then it separates itself because it seems to have more thought out and luxurious touch points. For example, the leather on the steering wheel feels really good. I like that there's well thought out cubby holes and places to put my phone and cup holders. I mean, like, look at this, for example. Typical iPhone fits perfectly right here on the door where you get the handle. So much so that it's actually a little hard to get it out. You need like 2 hands to pull it out. But you can put it anywhere, and you get generous space here in all the other areas that you would expect, including the dash here. And you know, that's all great and grand. It's been well thought out. I mean, I've been in some SUVs where there's like nowhere to put your phone. Like a Cayenne, for example, is kind of one of those vehicles where there's not a lot of storage, a lot of great design, but it's pretty to look at, not so much to live with. This you can live with. On top of that, I think the engineers really thought through a few other things really well, like how to separate some of the stuff from the screen to actual physical buttons. And that is actually typically a more expensive proposition by today's manufacturing processes. So on the steering wheel here, you actually have physical buttons that do everything from, you know, manage your adaptive cruise control to changing your radio station to using your phone and your voice commands. These are physical buttons that feel great. simple. The design of the steering wheel is really nice and it matches the car really well. I love that. On top of that, you have all your HVAC here, physical buttons. You don't have to go into a menu system to find them or anything like that. And back to creature comforts, this actually offers you not only these really comfortable seats that are just so, I mean, they really are like super huggy and just, I mean, you sink into them and it holds you really well, but also they are heated and ventilated, which I didn't expect. So that's a very welcomed addition to, I mean, I know this is not a cheap vehicle, but you know, other times, you know, you might not see ventilation from the factory as standard. So I love that that's there. Also, they've done a good job of organization. So here you have your mode select stuff. This is, it works in two capacities. One, you have your drive modes for like just everyday driving, so eco, normal, and sport. And then you also have your off-roading stuff. And this is stuff like crawl control, multi-terrain select, that kind of stuff. And so it's all in one spot and it's managed by the same knob. So it's just a smart, easy, intuitive, you know, mechanism there to be able to manage whatever scenario you're driving through. On top of that, you do have this dedicated little panel here with your traditional stuff that is a must-have now, which is your center locking diff, which is great because that'll make sure that all four wheels are spinning at the same rate. Then you have your much appreciated rear locker, and that will help push the power to the back wheels and get you thrust where you maybe didn't have before. If you're slipping, if you've ever been in a situation where all four wheels are slipping, that's a nice to have. And this is new to me, be able to push a button and decouple the stabilizers. You know, the sway bars are great on the road because they help control the body weight when you're going through corners and just in general managing the vehicle's behavior. But off-road, to be able to disconnect those is great because it increases articulation. So if you've got moguls or potholes, that kind of stuff that you're going through off-road, you know, if you couldn't decouple that, what it means is the vehicle is gonna basically sway into them, and that could cause more technical challenges getting out of those situations, if not damaging your vehicle. Being able to do that means the vehicle can stay more flat for longer while dipping the tire deeper into those holes, crevices, challenges, and creating grip where there wasn't any, pulling you through it more easily. So this is just some of the stuff that they've thought through. And I mean, they've made it so convenient in a package that you can drive every single day that's almost effortless. It's pretty incredible. You know, the last thing I really want to touch on too is, you know, you've got these camera systems that do engage for everyday stuff like parking, and it's 360-degree cameras. That's nothing new. But when you're off-road and you go into like 4 low or 4 high, the camera systems will automatically turn on and give you more views around the vehicle, in the front, the back, and a 360-degree view. But it shows you where your tire placement is, how close you are to obstacles, and that really, I think, helps elevate not just the experience of driving it, but your ability to get through stuff. So again, a well-thought vehicle, engineered really well. This also feels like it's pretty well built. There is some criticism for the door closed sounding a little tingy. I mean, maybe. I don't know. To me, it sounds fine. I've heard some of the 80 series and 60 series Land Cruiser doors. I mean, yes, they have a nice solid close, but like we're talking about steel heavy vehicles that were made, you know, a long time ago. You know, manufacturing is just different now. Manufacturing is about saving weight and cost. And so, you know, they could build something totally out of bronze if they wanted to, but there's a reason why they don't. So that doesn't bother me at all. I think this is a great place to be. Also, the back seats are really spacious. They've got lots of room for full-size adults. And of course, you've got the trunk area, which it just, I mean, yes, you have the battery there, which takes up a couple inches at the base. However, it just seems like an overlander's dream because it's so cavernous. There's so much stuff you can do, and the aftermarket is just starting to ramp up. So there's going to be drawer systems, there's going to be multi panels, there's going to be all kinds of stuff that you can just build out anything you want back there. Build out a kitchen if you want, and it'll be done with ease. Especially with that 2400 watt inverter in the back. That is a huge plus. So I really can't fault this car on the interior. I think this is great. Definitely worth checking out. So here we are driving the Land Cruiser in its native habitat of back roads and mountain passes and dirt trails and stuff. You know, the first thing I'm noticing is, you probably hear it in my voice, it's a little shaky because this is a pretty bouncy, rough area, and the suspension does not really soak it up. It just kind of bounces you a little bit around, and so it's fluttering in my voice. But you know, it's okay. I mean, I think on a smooth road or a typical road, this thing just feels like a car. I mean, you wouldn't even think twice, really. Now, that being said, you know, this is a very, very heavy vehicle. I mean, heavier than you expect. But I don't know, 5,038 pounds, I think, is the current weight figure that I saw. And, you know, that's, I hate to say it, but like a lot of SUVs are in that same weight category. So it's really not odd, but I think that the suspension could have been more refined to match the weight, right? And that's just me kind of nitpicking a little bit. But on that same note, here's the thing. Anybody who's going to buy this for, you know, sort of like a platform, if you will, to like modify, and I think that's going to be a big amount of users, I think, or owners. Like, I really do feel they're going to buy this and then switch out suspension systems pretty quickly anyway. So maybe Toyota was like, well, let's not invest too much in suspension because they're just going to rip it out. I don't know. But moving on. The steering, though, is kind of nice. This isn't normal right now, and it's light. I mean, you can use one finger and, you know, turn the wheels, not a problem. I'm going to switch to Sport now. Yeah. So in Sport, you can feel the weighting of the steering wheel increase. Now, of course, this is an electric box, so whatever, but that's commonplace. But what I do like is the amount of pressure that it's taking me to turn the steering wheel is consistent everywhere on the steering wheel. So that is a huge plus because it means I don't have to do any guesswork, right? I mean, I've driven a lot of vehicles where, you know, it might weigh 13% more on turn, but then straight up and down, it's at 0%. So that's a weird feeling, if that makes sense. But this is nice. It's what you expect it to be, and you know, it kind of gives you a sense of security on where those wheels are pointing, and you know, you feel like, you know, you feel good about having a little sportiness built into your off-road rig. You know, one other thing that I think is really cool about this is how it brakes. The brakes on this are strong, which is great. You know, that's a key feature because a lot of vehicles sometimes I don't know, they don't match brake systems that well to the weight of the vehicle. You know, I think my wife's old Cayenne's a really good example of this. You know, it was a heavy vehicle, about 4,600 pounds, but the brakes on that base Cayenne were pretty small. And so, yeah, I mean, they would brake the vehicle okay, but you needed brakes like every 6 months. And I'm talking about rotors and pads. So, you know, that got expensive pretty quick. With this, you don't feel that way. You feel like, no, it's all built to match. And it makes a happy vehicle when everything matches. And so because of that, you know, I don't have a complaint. I mean, it just feels like a competent, you know, off-road rig. I mean, it doesn't feel like, it's not gonna feel like a car. This is still a truck, it's still body on frame, and it drives that way, but it feels good, it feels solid, it feels like it's gonna last, and it feels well built. And part of the reason why I feel that way driving it is because everything's matching. The power seems to match the suspension, and the suspension seems to match the brakes, and the brakes seem to match the steering. I mean, everything just works together. It's cohesive. And that's, I mean, I don't know, how much more do you want than that? Let's give it a little power. Oh yeah. Oh no, this is plenty quick. I mean, how much power do you need? I don't know. I mean, that's a sports car question like that. I mean, there's almost no answer, but But in an off-road vehicle like this, you just don't want it to be sluggish. You want to feel like this thing, you could build it up, you can add armor, you can add tents, you can add your stuff and people and go on a trip and have it feel, you know, like you can drive it. It's still very drivable versus being sluggish and slow because the fact you're using it for what it was intended. I don't think that's going to be a problem with this. This feels like it's got a lot of power, and it really comes down to the torque from the turbocharger in conjunction with the electric motor that's right in this transmission tunnel. So, you know, really, really good power to weight. I think it just feels like nothing. I mean, if I step on it, like right here, a little bit of sound, and we're gone. Like, I jumped quite a bit in speed there, you know, more than I needed to. So that's great. The only complaint I would have about the driving experience is, you know, this is a 4-cylinder engine, 2.4 liter turbo, and it just doesn't have a refined sound really. It just kind of sounds a little bit choppy, or not to be too cliche, but it sounds very diesel-like at times, or there's no sound at all. And for whatever reason, you know, that's okay. I mean, this isn't supposed to sound like a motorsport V8 or something, but like it would have been nice to have a little bit of thought put around to that part of the experience, because, you know, I mean, you've got something that's peppy and sporty, why not make it sound good? So the last thing I'll mention is a vehicle like this already has lots of aftermarket support. And I feel like every month we're gonna see more and more products coming out for the Land Cruiser that, you know, is just gonna make this vehicle more special, because it opens doors, it helps people get more creative with what they wanna do with their Land Cruiser. And whether you wanna make a rock crawler or an overlander, or just a cool truck just to drive around town in, like whatever you wanna do, these companies are gonna support you through that venture. And they wouldn't do it if the vehicle itself, you know, wasn't something that they saw as special. So I think that's really cool, because it creates culture around your vehicle choice. I mean, it's like a little family. Like I've had lots of attention in this thing already. I mean, people who either just enjoy the design of it will wave, but I've seen another Land Cruiser come my way driving the other direction. It was a customer car, and he just did the, you know, the 2 fingers up. So that's cool. That doesn't happen in Honda Civics, right? So I think that's what separates a special vehicle from just an appliance that most people would, you know, implore just to get them from point A to point B or their commute. That's not really what this is, but it's a Toyota. You can do that with this. Now, reliability over time in terms of this drivetrain, it's too early to tell, but, you know, Toyota's been building hybrids for a very long time, and my guess is they're not going to lose their reputation over this vehicle. Quite the opposite. So 2 thumbs up for me on the driving experience. I'm really feeling like, after spending some time with this and driving it and just kind of putting it through its paces, that it's justifying its price. And you just can't find everything this has and offers you in just any vehicle. So 2 thumbs up for me. All right, guys, so that concludes our drive in the 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser, which is still funny to me. But, you know, what a great vehicle. I mean, honestly, a great platform to start off with. I mean, yeah, I liked how it drove. I liked the power delivery. It's amazing. It really solves a lot of problems I had with my Tacoma in terms of just livability and practicality and daily drivability and all that stuff. This thing solves all that. But I can't help wondering, because I look at it and I go, why did it come with all-season tires? Like, why didn't it have something more knobby? And, you know, that bothers me a little bit, because I know what this is supposed to be, but I think it's being marketed to a much broader audience, right? But for me, if this was going to be my vehicle, first thing I would do is lift 35s. I would definitely do rock sliders, skid plates, and then, I don't know, probably a rooftop tent, and then I'd call it a day. But all of that costs extra money, and you can go, well, now you're spending, you know, 15, 20 grand extra to do all that stuff. True, But when you consider that the last model Land Cruiser that we got here was, I think the price started at like 90 grand and went up from there. Many of them were spec'd well into the hundreds, and nobody bought them. I mean, that makes this look like a total value, especially when you factor in the latest tech, the camera system, which is so clutch, especially off-road. I think it's a really, really good platform, and I'm excited for this thing. Now, the only one challenge is the price point, coming in at 70 grand plus. You know, you're right there with the Overtrail, right? So do you want the Lexus experience, which is the same chassis, but a different engine, probably a little bit smoother, more refined experience? Or do you want the upcoming Trail Hunter or TRD Pro 4Runner, which with markup is gonna be in the 70s for sure, you can bet on that. You know, that's a little bit more of a familiar vehicle, but you're still getting a hybrid drivetrain just like this, and I think actually with more power. So, you know, it's kind of a delicate balance, but what a great time to be an enthusiast in the off-road world, in the overlanding world, because look at all these options we're getting, and sure, they're expensive, but I think they're worth it. So all that being said, guys, I would love to see what you guys want. Put your comments down below as to which vehicle you would choose from all these, and any questions, I'd be happy to answer those as well. Other than that, thanks for watching to this point, guys. Subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.